Welcome everybody. Happy Friday to you out there. Welcome to the Morning Update Show. I'm your co-host, Trey Holiday, and you guys know I do this with my co-hostess with the mostest, Big O. What's up, Big O? Happy Friday.
Trey Holiday. Let me tell you, and let me be very clear and emphatic when I say this. Thank God it's Friday. I mean, you talk about a long week, and this week ain't even over with. Really, to be honest with you. Uh, but man, I'm glad we're here. We finally made it to Friday.
Yes, we did, my friend. Yes, I'm right there with you. Thank God it's Friday.
Yeah, no, got an exciting show lined up for us today. We got Sade Smith, Sade No Chill, civil rights lawyer. She's gonna be joining us here shortly. Also, we got Dr. Daudi Abe. Yeah, he's releasing his book, a big release event tonight, called Emerald Street, and it's the history of hip hop in Seattle. We got producer Nikki. Nikki, look at Nikki. Look, the boss is away, and look what happens. You're gonna go jump in my seat and everything,
Hey, there we
huh?
I gotta close those blinds, but
But
I'm being O today. I wore my hoodie, I got my hat on, so
go,
look
Ray.
at you. All right, we'll check back in with you in a minute. But first things first, man, want to bring in Sade Smith. Where's you ready, Sade? Hey, Sade. See you
Hi.
back there. What's up, Sade?
Hi.
How are you?
I'm Ariel.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
All right, Sade. I mean, one of these days we're gonna bring you on and we're gonna talk about something else like basket weaving or sage burning or something. But every time we talk to you, man, it's this issue here around the protests and some everything else. A lot of events this week, a few different stories out there. But what we do know is that there is somebody in the hospital in Harborview following an arrest up there on Capitol Hill. Before I jump into all of this stuff, did you have anything to say about that?
It's quite devastating. We are, I believe it's 160 days into the protests, and we still have egregious actions by SPD. The fact that somebody is on life support is it's devastating, and there's a lot to say about it. Let's just say that my mind is still blown that this is still happening.
So I want to play, and this is a thing here is so yesterday was a real interesting day for Converge because we we got out there, we talked to Meyerberg, we talked to the lawyers, and SPD released some body cam footage, some everything else. So I'm not an expert in body cam footage, and really it's kind of difficult to watch for a few different reasons for me personally. But got a little bit of body cam footage here. Not really expecting you to dissect it or anything, but it's about a minute long. And I want to warn our audience that this is body worn camera from the officers making an arrest.
You're under arrest! You're under arrest! Don't fight! Fight! Roll over! Roll over! Roll over on your stomach! Let her stop! Grab your pants! Stop fighting us! Stop fighting! Relax! Stop fighting! Good. Relax your arms! You are under arrest! Put your hands. Put your hands behind your back. I can't. Put your arm out. Put your arm out.
All right. So that was, the police released a video that was 9 minutes long. The thing with body worn camera, almost like any video, is just, it really takes a level of expertise in dissecting these. But so 9 minutes long, and what happened was Director Meyerberg, when I talked to him, he said the first night he was out, but the second night, what he did was they were on call. He got a call. They went up there after the incident to the East Precinct from 12, like he said, like 12 a.m. to 4 a.m. Then he said that they did a preliminary review of the tape, and that there was no evidence from the tape that anything was I got the exact quote in my Twitter so people can actually hear the exact words. So I'm paraphrasing here. But basically, there was nothing that he saw in the tape that actually, let me just play this for you. I got Meyerberg's response right here.
Yeah, so I want to be super clear for people. I'm not saying that it was inside or outside of policy right now. What I'm saying is that I'm not seeing any evidence of clear misconduct that would warrant OPA opening an investigation. It is very possible that people could offer more evidence, that witnesses could come forward with different perspectives. Like, we want to see and hear all of that information. So there is no decision made at this point. The only decision that I've made is to not initiate it on my own, but to wait for a complaint to come in.
All right. So Meyerberg says that what he saw in the tape isn't enough for OPA to open up their own investigation. He said he was waiting for a complaint to come in. I talked to the lawyers yesterday, Sarah Libick, Karen Kohler. They said that they would be sending a complaint. All of that being said, what are your thoughts, Sade?
I mean, so I just want to be clear with everybody. The SPD policy manual has been in existence for years. There's been policy around use of force. There's been policy around de-escalation. There's been policy around crowd control. And Chapter 14, or Title 14, 090 specifically addresses this issue. SPD is only supposed to intervene as far as after they give a dispersal order when there's a substantial risk to people or property. And even by SPD's own admission, what they saw, I believe, was some potential spray painting on the East Precinct. That's not a substantial risk to property. And instead of issuing a dispersal order and then allowing the crowd to disperse after the dispersal order, they bum rushed everybody, caused a panic, and then jumped on somebody. And so just from the few seconds of video that we have, it's clearly a policy violation. I'm actually quite startled that Meyerberg would say that on video, because I mean, I have the policy right here. It says, risk of causing injury to any person or substantial harm to property. The incident commander may order that the crowd be dispersed. And again, language is important. It says may order. Before ordering that the crowd be dispersed, the incident commander shall consider whether less restrictive means of crowd management are available. Such means may include strategies such as area denial and or seeking voluntary compliance. Upon determining that dispersal is appropriate, the incident commander shall ensure that there is an avenue of egress sufficient to allow the crowd to depart. The incident commander or designee will issue the order to disperse prior to instructing officers to disperse the crowd if feasible. So again, the gaslighting that is involved with the policy, it's clearly written. And when I was working previously on an amicus brief with Nikita Oliver regarding the inquest process, I was diving into a little bit more of these policies, and I cross-examined officers on these policies. You know, did you follow this policy for investigation? This is not new. So the fact that Meyerberg is saying there's no violation of the policy when you have cops, and again, this happened multiple times this summer, right? Cops rolling up on people on bikes, playing music, bashing into people. That is not how government officials are supposed to act. I mean, I can go on and rant on this for a long time, but we have the issue, and then SPD clipping specific portions of the body-worn video is quite disturbing. They have the angle of the body-worn video. They have it from an officer that did not get you couldn't see clearly, but in the larger pan video, you see the legs flailing, you see the actual force that was imposed on the person on, I believe their name is Cal. So again, what we see is you have your government, and again, this is your money, these are your resources, your government, people who are supposed to serve you are literally using their abilities and the expensive equipment that you pay for to release propaganda regarding a matter. The fact that they clipped that video and released it, the fact that Meyerberg is saying that there's no policy violation when it's so clear. I mean, again, if y'all want to pull it up, it's policy manual, SPD policy manual, it's Title 14, 090, subsection A. Yeah.
And so, well, and speaking of that, and I mean, what the director did say yesterday is he said that he had an expectation that some complaints, at least one, would come in. There was quite a few people on Twitter after we put out the video who came back and said that they filed a complaint around this. Said that he's welcoming all other videotape and eyewitnesses, and the director said that OPA is committed to doing a full investigation around this, and that they haven't made a final judgment, but what he's saying is that what he saw on the tape doesn't warrant them opening their own investigation.
So again, part of the problem with the criminal system and the legal system period is the abuse of discretion, right? You have a system that is based on controlling people and harming people. And then you have certain people, actors that are reinforced by the system to stay in their positions of power, and they get to make the decisions about what is legal and what's illegal. What we know is that multiple officers have brutalized people this summer, and we don't have evidence that people are off the job, that people have had any criminal charges filed against them. And OPA is the one office that's supposed to do something outside of the King County Prosecutor's Office. And we already know that they're not prosecuting cops very often, if at all. I mean, there's been one in 30-something years. So we have a situation where OPA, Meyerberg is choosing not to investigate. They have access to all of the video, and they're saying, we'll just wait and see if people get upset about it. Was that the case this summer when people were snatched up and arrested for failure to disperse, obstruction? And again, I do want to clarify, you have a right to First Amendment. Again, First Amendment entails speech, press, religion, assembly, and right to petition the government. The fact that they are trying to stop you from doing that, and in Seattle specifically, you have the right to interfere with traffic as part of your protest. If you are protesting something, especially in a public forum, and it happens to cause traffic impediments, you do not lose your right to free speech. The government and even the US Supreme Court recognizes that very thoroughly. So what Meyerberg is saying is, we're going to completely ignore the fact that this person's on life support. We don't see that there's any policy violation, even though it's very clear that there is, and we're going to wait till people complain about it. And again, the bureaucracy of it all is wasting a lot of people's time and energy, right? If there were a real oversight committee, if they're really about accountability and doing their job, they would take the affirmative steps because they have the money, the resources, and the time. All of us are trying to survive in a pandemic, right? They have all of those resources to do their job and make sure SPD is compliant. They're waiting for the public to do their job for them. And then when the public does all that, Twitter, apparently Lippic and Kohler have been on top of it, extremely great work, and still OPA saying we need more. And that's the gaslighting of it all. And again, why systems need to be dismantled. There is no fixing them or reforming them. They work this way for a reason. OPA has had the opportunity, whether it's through the inquest process and also through the consent decree, to do their job, and they're not doing it.
Right. And now moving on to another issue here, SPD related though, is that reports out there that there's an LRAD, that the Seattle Police Department are using an LRAD. They said, well, my understanding is, I haven't heard the official statement, my understanding is that the audio disruption part, the frequencies in that LRAD have been disabled, and they're basically using it as a large public address. I mean, this is an example of the LRAD addressing, or at least the PA system they're using now addressing the public.
You're creating a public safety hazard by blocking the arterial and denying access and movement of fire, ambulances, and medic units. We please ask that you move and continue to move. We're here to support your rights to free speech and assembly. We're here to assist in the demonstration. We're only involved because you're blocking an arterial and you've committed the acts, prior crimes, including obstruction and property damage. We ask that you continue to move. I apologize to the community that we've had to make this announcement, but this group is creating a public safety hazard.
All right. So that's the PA. A lot of people have heard this PA system out. And I mean, what have you heard about this LRAD and the LRAD system?
I know that it's it violates international human rights. The fact that SPD is saying, oh, we bought one that's kind of been fixed a little bit, so it's not a weapon of war, is bizarre. I mean, why can't you just use a loudspeaker like anybody else with any sense? So they're wasting a lot of resources. And again, this is an SPD flex, right? We see them where they're jumping out in their SWAT, and they have their, their sniper rifles with the rubber bullets. They have all this crazy equipment. There's no reason to have something like that. But I do think it's important to note the words that they're using. They are using that device to, one, cause general trauma to the public, right? So you can hear that thing for several blocks where the protests would have never interfered with. So now you have the general public getting frustrated. Oh my gosh, these protesters are causing all this trauma. It's like, no, actually what's happening is SPD is wasting your money and resources to scare the hell out of people. Can I swear? Scare people and just create more, hatred towards the movement. And it's just really frustrating. Again, they could have used a way cheaper device, but they're using it as a flex. They have a lot of weaponry, not just the SWAT vehicles, not just the high automatic rifles. I mean, again, when I was at Black Lives Matter protests, they are rolling up on people with unmarked vans, and they're jumping out with automatic rifles. This is part of what they do, and they need to attest for why they're wasting so much money and why they're using it to harm people. But the language, I do want to touch base on the language a little bit. The fact that, and it makes me it just startles me. It says, you are interfering with arterials for, the emergency vehicles. That wasn't actually happening, right? So they're writing something or putting something into the narrative that wasn't actually there. And again, this is more gaslighting. You have the right to protest. You do not need a permit to protest. You can block the streets to protest. We sit in all types of traffic in Seattle, right? That's not an issue. If you're doing it and it's a First Amendment right, then it becomes an issue. No, there's a reason why there's constitutional protections. SPD is just, they're just bizarre. And again, OPA has seen this over and over again and they're not doing anything. And it's like, what are you there for? Why are you getting paid?
Right. And now, something else here. And now I'm not familiar with this publication, so, and could be very credible, could not be, but came across this. And it looks like this publication here, Bridge Burners Collectives, it says that Seattle police caught using Clearview AI, potentially violating surveillance ordinances. I don't know. Have you seen this?
I saw it briefly. So, sorry, I'll let you finish because I'm going to go on a rant.
No, go ahead.
So a couple of things why AI, there's been a pushback against AI, and I believe Microsoft was trying to use it, and Microsoft was trying to assist SPD with it at some point. AI is extreme. It's even more racist than other different things. Like, for example, AI cannot distinguish between Black folks' faces. And so they will use that and be like, oh, you fit the description, this AI match, and then they'll use it to pull you over, and then people they end up getting shot. So there's been a huge push by the ACLU and other organizations to challenge the use of artificial intelligence because, of course, like most things in this country, they do not recognize this. So the fact that SPD is using it and there's an ordinance regarding it is extremely concerning. And again, SPD has access to this technology, and they're supposed to be protecting the public, and what they're doing is using it to harm the public. They're not holding their officers accountable. And again, that shows that they're not assisting the public. They're wasting a ton of resources. Again, that shows they're not assisting the public. And they're also spinning out propaganda regarding incidents that happen. So one, it's illegal. Two, I have no doubt that they're using it. I mean, in Snohomish County, when My Chance Getting Dunlap was murdered by King County Sheriff's Office, there was some concern that they had used that AI, artificial intelligence, to track somebody because the SPD officer's kid got killed. And then they believe.
Oh, we're losing you, Sade.
Oh, sorry. I'm back.
Yeah, you're back now.
Okay. The person who allegedly caused the death of the officer's son was a woman, and My Chance Dunlap was a young man. So that just shows how the facial recognition, it's not a good look. And the fact that SPD is using it, it's extremely concerning. I mean, this just is another extension of the surveillance state, right? They already have all types of ways to track people. They're using the cameras outside the East Precinct. They're using the cameras from street lights. They're getting into people's phones. They're using the cameras outside of residences for security. Again, there's a lot of surveilling that's going on by SPD.
All right, one last thing here, and open it up. I know Triana has some questions for you. We got a few other live guests, but saw this last night. This was a pretty good breakdown here about Charter One and the inquest. This is from King 5. And let me just play it for you right now.
Last night, we told you about 2 charter amendments approved by voters involving the King County Sheriff. Another approved by voters involves the county's inquest process, which happens when an officer is being investigated for circumstances surrounding a death. Now, this is a big change to the current process. Tony Black joins us live now. And Tony, what kind of impact, if any, might this have on current inquests?
Yeah, good evening to you. So there are several inquests currently on pause right now in King County due to some legal challenges. So those ones will not be impacted, at least not right away. But King County Executive Dow Constantine says that there have been some missed opportunities to try and de-escalate situations between officers and the community in the situation where the community member ends up being killed. He says these changes that the voters approved will make inquests more transparent and should be able to make it easier to hold law enforcement accountable when suspected of wrongdoing.
Our community, because none of us wants to see an unnecessary death happen on the streets of King County.
King County residents approved Charter Amendment 1, which changes the wording of what an inquest entails in the county.
Now it's in the charter, which makes it harder to change and harder to ignore.
Inquests are now required when investigating an officer's conduct when involved in a death, and the county must now pay for an attorney for the victim's family. The changes mirror requirements Dow signed as an executive order for the county 2 years ago.
These together, I think, will help restore some confidence in the community.
There are several inquests in King County currently on pause due to legal challenges from nearby cities and police agencies. This vote will not impact those right away, but will be implemented for future inquests.
able to take action when we find out something that could have been done differently, whether it's training or policy, or maybe an officer not following the training and policy.
Inquests now also apply to jail and police staff and other positions within law enforcement if that person's actions may have contributed to a death.
We have a responsibility to figure out how to unwind that, how to make it so that we minimize or eliminate situations in which a resident's life is lost because of a conflict.
Now, Dow added that these changes are what he calls critical as he and the county wrestle with the reality of the role that race and racism plays within our legal system. For now, here in Seattle, I'm Tony Black, King 5 News.
All right, Sade, how much confidence do you have that this new system that was voted upon will move forward, but then also some of the inquests that are bottlenecked, like Charlene Laus?
I think the inquests are going to move forward. I participated briefly in an inquest before I left King County Public Defender's office. I have general frustration about the inquest process. The legal challenge that they reference is a legal challenge. The inquest statute allows for there to be a determination of any, liability, criminal liability. But the way that it rolled out in King County was they were not allowing the jury to address the issue of criminal liability. And so that was the amicus that Nikita and I worked on together with other folks to push forward and explain to the King County exec and the court why it's so important to actually have the issue of criminal liability put before the inquest jury, because we know, again, the King County prosecutor is not prosecuting cops very often or at all. I mean, Jeff Nelson's the first one, but there are a lot of deaths that have been happening. So I have faith that the inquest process will go forward. I think it's going to be extended. What's happening is, I think the real question is, will the inquest process do what we want it to? And that's hold police accountable. And I don't think it will. And the reason why I don't think it will is because it doesn't answer some very specific questions, but there's such pushback from the city and the state to actually have any type of liability regarding what's going on with officer actions. The inquest that I was participating in, and I ended up leaving before it was finished, it's very frustrating. The civil process is very frustrating. There's a lot of discovery rules, a lot of bureaucracy on what even gets to be put in front of the jury. And so you have these families that have been tortured by this harm that's been done to their family, and they just want to know the truth. And you have the city, which is the city of Seattle, because they're representing police, or the city side of it, they are giving a ton of pushback. And it's just, I think people need to know how much government money is going into making it so you don't see as a public what police are doing and how they're violating policies. But I did want to briefly touch base on the issue. Did I talk at all about how the King County executive, I just saw his face. So the King County executive, Dow Constantine, issued an order on March 24th regarding the jail. Did I say anything about that? No? Okay. What happened with the jail, essentially, because COVID was happening, they wanted to decrease the jail population. And so misdemeanors were not supposed to be being booked into jail for that specific reason. Again, that's from March 24th. They've been doing that. SPD's been doing that all summer and exposing people to a very deadly virus. So again, if we're talking about policy violations, there's a King County executive order that was issued several months ago saying that they should not be doing what they're doing. And yet here we are, November 6th, still facing this trauma. So again, please expect more from your government. They can do more and they will do more if we keep putting their feet to the fire. I'm so thankful for protesters putting your bodies on the line. You really are saving us all and making this democracy a reality.
Yeah, you know what, honestly, that really leads into my question, because I think that, we had Nikita on here and she hit a point, and I just wanted you to be able to also maybe address it in this regard, because what we're seeing is that it really does take the work of so much pressure on the ground to actually affect change. And a lot of folks out there thinking maybe if, Joe Biden wins and Kamala Harris is in the White House, that, yay, we can take a breath, we can relax. But I just want to hear from you in terms of, again, holding police accountable. It seems like a lot of that is falling on community and on people in general. And how do we continue to ensure that people understand that it is them and their voice collectively that moves and changes things?
Yeah, there is no movement currently without people on the ground. It's interesting because people do you think kids should become lawyers? And it's like, not really. I mean, it's like I'm in law and I'm doing what I can with my legal aspect of it. but there's so much more amazing work that's being done by people on the ground, mutual aid. I mean, they're literally saving people's lives. So again, this is a movement of the people, has to start and has to continue and be led by the people. It's not going to be a bunch of administrators, not going to be a bunch of lawyers or cops or former prosecutors. That's not where it's at. That's not where it's going to be. If we want liberation, we have to follow the people. It has to be BIPOC led. It has to be on Black and Indigenous sovereignty. And that's just really all that it is. If we want to see liberation. And again, folks like to act like Trump is, the epitome of white supremacy and fascism. And let's be very clear about the country that we live in. The entire foundation was based on those two things, and it will continue to act in that way. It does not matter. Obama did not completely absolve this, this country of all of its wrongs and didn't fix everything. And not a few people are going to. That's impossible. It's going to take a movement of the people. And you see that happening right now. I mean, we got states flipping all over the place, but it's really important that we really just respect where the power is.
Thanks for that.
All right. Sade Smith, Sade no chill. I said I catch you in the morning though, because I catch the chill in the morning. You know what I'm saying?
That was a more chill side. Yeah, there we go.
No, I mean we covered quite a few different topics here. Sade, I mean, I guess if people need your assistance, how can people reach you?
Yeah, I'm at Sade No Chill on Twitter. We have the protest campaign is www.dismantle.us, and then our firm website is www.thesmithlaw.com. Just hit us up if you have any questions and if you're looking for legal assistance. There are a lot of other attorneys doing the work too. I'm kind of swamped. I know my colleagues are picking up work, but we'll continue to take cases as we can.
All right, Sade Smith, thanks so much for joining us this morning. We'll be right back here on the Morning Update Show.
My parents coming over here as refugees meant that they didn't really have anything when they came to America. Having reliable healthcare and having a reliable doctor was really important. Cộng đồng của tôi, trạm y tế của tôi.
我的社区，我的诊所。Mi comunidad, mi clínica.
بلشدة هي بقارها.
My community, my clinic.
Yay, holiday.
Hey, what's up, Omari, man? How are you?
I'm on the move, if you can't tell.
Yeah, I know. I see. Mickey got your spot, so I saw.
Man, look at the kiddo. What's up, kid?
Hey. He's like, I'm ready, dog.
Look at you. At least you're well branded, man. Hey, what we're gonna do, Nikki, is I see we got Dr. Abe here in the waiting room, so we're gonna pop over to him. We're gonna come back. I know you got a bunch of headlines and other stuff for us.
Sure do.
Okay, see you in a minute. All right, let's see what's going on over here. We've got Dr. Daudi Abe, and I say doctor because last time, look at it, he got the bulldog. Oh, I'm so glad. I go to Garfield High. I say Dr. Abe because last time we had him on, I was like professor, and man, I got checked. What's up, Dr. Abe? How are you? We can't hear you. We're gonna take you off mute.
There we go.
What's up? My pleasure to be here.
Hey, good to see you again, Dr. Abe.
Good to be seen. Thank you.
Yeah, man. All right, so let me put up the graphic. We made the graphic for you and everything. Here it is, Emerald Street by Daudi Abe, The History of Hip Hop in Seattle. Man, the book is what? The book is out, or is it out today? Today's the day.
This is the very first copy. I just got this yesterday. The launch event is tonight in conjunction with the Northwest African American Museum and Elliott Bay Books and University of Washington Press. And tonight we will be it will really be a celebration of local hip hop. We will have Nasty Ness Rodriguez. We will have Fever One. We will have Jerome Ski. We will have King Chasm. We will have Julie C. And who knows who else might just pop through and show up for a minute. But no, it's an exciting time, and this is really great because it happens to coincide with November, which is Hip Hop History Month in the state of Washington. That work was done courtesy of King Chasm and many others at 206 Zulu. And so So it's a great time of year.
Fantastic. Tell us, man, what's in the book? I mean, what are people going to find in there?
I think people will find a very diverse kind of local scene. I want to say that this is what's the word I'm looking for? Not the premiere, but it is a case study in how one of the outsider towns, not New York or Los Angeles, kind of developed its own scene, its own thing. One thing I think is important to remember is the fact that we are kind of up here in the left upper corner of the country. And if you think about the different areas of the country, Northwest, Southwest, Northeast, Southeast, you know, they're kind of capitals of each part of the country. New York is probably Northeast, and Miami maybe Southeast, and Los Angeles Southwest. And without a doubt, Seattle is that for the Northwest. But unlike all of those other towns, or most of those other towns I just named, the next largest town, I mean, no disrespect to Portland, but the next largest town south from Seattle is the Bay Area, next largest cities rather, about 1,000 miles away. And then heading east, the next largest city is Minneapolis, Minnesota. And so while there may not be large centers of population in those places, still in those little towns and cities all across the way, there are consumers of culture. And a lot of them look kind of towards Seattle as this capital of not only technology and culture, like glass art and that kind of thing, but also urban culture and hip hop and music. And so I think in that way, that's one of the aspects anyway that makes this area so unique, just in terms of the cover, just in terms of the square mileage that it covers. And that's something that has, like I said, allowed people not to feel like I need to copy something. You know, I apologize if I mentioned this last time, but an example of that would have been the song Posse on Broadway, which comes out in like '87. And if you remember, this is right at the edge of gangster rap kind of taking off and becoming popular. If you remember the crucial sequence of the song, they're up at Dick's. And, you know, there's a little beef between the crews, and Mix-a-Lot and his crew step in to stop a man from physically assaulting his girlfriend using some mace. That's not exactly what NWA was talking about doing. You know what I'm saying? That's not exactly how Ice-T would have done it. You know what I'm saying? He was talking about beating women down in the song 6 in the morning, right? And whatever conflict NWA got into was usually solved with an Uzi or a shotgun or something like that. And so I'm just using that as an example just to say that people up here artistically and creatively have always felt a freedom that people in other parts of the country may not necessarily have felt.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's awesome. You know, I mean, yeah, love that, because I think what you really laid out is so many of the unique characteristics that really make up our artistry here, in Seattle, and really in the embodiment of life in the Northwest. And I just want to ask you, because for me, I can't wait to read your book. Honestly, I am excited because I'm ready to get a copy. I can't wait to hear all the details later on. But ultimately, I really want to hear from you in terms of, and we talked a little bit about this last time, but now there is a new explosion kind of creativity. You know, how do we hone us in on that again, as we did kind of back then in the ways that you're describing? How do we bring that back now that our communities have been gentrified and displaced and, they're all over the place? What do we do to centralize that artistic community again?
Well, it is sometimes difficult. I teach the class up at Seattle Central, and a lot of people who take the class are, late teens, early 20s, and it's through no fault of their own. It's just when they were born, but they have no memory of anything but hip hop being the most mainstream of the mainstream. Whereas, I'm saying, and people like myself can remember a time when the mainstream wanted nothing to do with hip hop. And so you had a point kind of in the late 80s and to the early 90s where a lot of the most popular hip hop acts were kind of overtly political. And I'm thinking of Boogie Down Productions, and I'm thinking of Public Enemy, and they were like chart toppers. They were, you know, they were the ones whose videos would be played all the time. And then you get into the more that you start to exit the golden era of rap, which was like the mid 80s to the mid 90s. And it starts to become a little bit more, you know, the whole sex and violence begins to take the place thematically of what is popular and whose records are selling. And so it's still out there. I'm telling people it's still out there. You just have to find it. You know, it's not going to be presented to you like it was, at least to an extent, on Yo MTV Raps or something like that. You're going to have to go find it. But in terms of like centering the community, I think that this type of atmosphere, this type of time, I mean, I'm not saying in any way that I'm glad what has happened has happened. I mean, I guess I am, but not at the expense of George Floyd. But I'm just saying that this kind of social movement is just the time when I can't wait to see the art that comes out of this. You know what I mean? I think it is this kind of atmosphere that spurs movements along. I mean, if you think about something like hip hop's not even supposed to be here. It's not even the simple fact that hip hop is around is a form of protest. If you think about where it came from and who it came from, and I mean, just look at the movie Wild Style, right? And just see the background drops that are just inserted all over the movie, just to really drive home the point of the absolute desolation that culture came from. The blocks and blocks of abandoned buildings and rubble-strewn fields and all of this. It's not even supposed to be here. It's not supposed to be here. I mean, we grew up where it was like, okay, what's going to happen? It was kind of a scary time, only in the sense of like, you know, disco was such a popular music form in the 70s. And then like by the time 1980 came around, it disappeared almost overnight, it seemed like. And it seems silly to think now, but that, I mean, at least I was worried that could happen to hip hop, but we didn't know. I mean, again, it seems silly to say that now, given what has happened, but I think that for me, it was a very real thing. And that's why I kind of held it so dear and was so kind of protective of it. And so bringing that back to now, I think that this atmosphere and this time, although not exactly, I feel like there are some parallels in terms of not necessarily having a roadmap to what it looks like. I know that there was a lot of West Coast stuff that came out leading up to, during, and after the Rodney King thing, but I think that this is such more widespread and kind of much more sustained that the level of art, I mean, it feels like it begs for artistic expression to really help us process what it is we're seeing and where it is we may be going.
All right. So Dr. Abe, tell us about this event tonight. Is this something that's open to the public? And also, we're already getting here in the chat. Where can people buy the book?
You can pre-order it at if you just Google Emerald Street UW Press, it'll take you where you can pre-order. The event tonight, it is free. I think you have to register. Or I think there is an option if you want to get a signed copy of the book, you can sign up for that. And I think it is, I want to say $35. I should know that, but so yeah, so you can either just come in and chill and enjoy the proceedings, or you can go do that. In fact, after I get off here, I'm getting ready to go exercise my signature hand. I don't know how sexy my signature is or my autograph is these days, but you know, it might get sexier, you know, depending on how the book does. So yeah, so it's gonna be it is for me, it is a celebration of local hip hop and all the different aspects of it, and the different ways that young people from around here have interacted and interfaced with it and found, and in a lot of cases in the book, I think I'm supposed to say, as I talk about in the book, you can see how many different ways different people have found their own lane in terms of interacting with the culture. And I think I grew up here listening to a lot of it, and I was, I guess, blown away in a lot of ways just by all the details that I dug up and all the people that I was able to talk to. It was really a great learning experience for me.
Right. Well, we're going to encourage everybody to pay the fee and pick up the book. They put the link there in the comments, so that's where people can go and you can pre-order the book. And then also you said it's at Northwest African American Museum tonight at what time?
It is at 7:00. It's a virtual event, and it is in conjunction.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a virtual event. It's in conjunction with Northwest African American Museum, UW Press, and Elliott Bay Book Company.
All right. Well, first of all, fellow Bulldog and big time philosophizer and hip hop professor, Dr. Alba, congratulations. And you know what else is great, and one other reason why I wanted to talk to you and get it out there is like it's reaffirming for young people in our community to see like a lot of images that we see are, of course, people in music and people in sports. So it's reaffirming to see a Garfield Bulldog out here, you know what I'm saying, who goes by doctor, who works as a professor, who's also an author, man. So congratulations, brother.
Can I just say this one thing? First of all, I appreciate both of you for your support and having me on. It means a lot. But I also want to say that I titled this book purposefully. This book is a history of hip hop in Seattle because I did not view myself as arrogant enough to think that I could fit the entirety of the history into, a couple hundred pages. And so what I would love for this to actually be is simply a jump off point where future scholars and researchers kind of take it up. I mean, honestly, a book about breaking in Seattle could be written just on that topic alone. You know what I mean? And so I would love for this to be a starting point for people who come after me and us and writing, whether it's history or kind of current stuff. But the key here is just how each new generation interprets what hip hop means to them in terms of their lived experiences.
There it is. Dr. Abe, appreciate you joining us. Good luck tonight, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Bye.
All right. We'll be right back.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your man, the Big O. Want to take a moment here, first of all, to say thank you for your support of Converge Media. We definitely wouldn't be here without you. Secondly, I want to thank everybody who is a supporter of Converge Media on Patreon. We definitely appreciate your support. And for those of you might not know, I'll let you know, we operate 100% off of donations. Some donations big, most donations small, but we love all donations all the same. If you haven't done so yet, I want to encourage you to go on our website to whereweconverge.com/donate and subscribe. You click on the Patreon link and you can subscribe for as little as $5 a month. There's higher tiers beyond that as well. And just know that your subscription literally keeps us on the air. Once again, I want to thank you for all your support.
This week on Chats with Trey, Stat the artist.
There we go. Now we're back. Stacks the artist, huh?
Oh yeah, Stat the artist. Been doing some amazing work, working with the Sounders, on their civil rights, and then working on a vote emblem. I mean, he's been doing some incredible stuff. I'm so happy for folks to be able to hear my chat with him.
All right, and before we send this over to the kiddo over here, I'm also on TV tonight. But don't worry, it's not the same time that you're on. You're at 2:00. I'm actually on 11 o'clock tonight on Como 4.
So we see him grabbing an umbrella. There's the spray. There's the spray. There's the spray. It's on now.
Well, he gave us and the world a front row seat to the ongoing protests in Seattle, from the fires of Westlake, confrontations at the East Precinct, to the formation and teardown of the CHOP. And now, 5 months after those demonstrations first began, citizen journalist Omari Salisbury has had a chance to reflect on his continuous live streams and talk about what it was like to stand on those front lines.
And the officer grabs the pink umbrella and they start going back and forth, fighting over the umbrella. Another officer just starts spraying mace.
and the mace is up. I got hit in the eye on the mace, and then all you hear now is flashbangs.
Coming up tonight at 11, Converge Media's Amari Salisbury talks about his continuous live streams of the protests and how his video was viewed across the country and the world on social media. He will also share the moments that he didn't stream that still impact him today.
What we are learning.
Now you see the one guy who's there in the middle of all this smoke and stuff. My crazy ass. I don't even know. It's wild when you watch the aerial version, man. But it's also like, man, we went through a lot. You know what I'm saying? And Ryan over there at Como 4, man, and I'm a bit nervous about this interview. We talked for an hour and some change. They're supposed to play it, you know, from beginning to end. And yeah, it did get me crying on camera. It's pretty emotional interview. So that's tonight at 11 o'clock on Como 4.
You know what? Congrats, Omari. I mean, honestly, this is really about showcasing what was happening on the front lines. And Converge was out there. You know, you had yourself, others from the team, Nikki, there was days you was out there. I mean, literally the team was out there, and it is evident. So I love that Como recognized once again that they needed to sit down and get this in-depth interview with none other, my brother, Amari Salisbury. It's fabulous, fabulous. Congratulations, my friend.
Congrats.
Thank you. Again, tonight, 11 o'clock at Como. All right, kiddo, what you got for us?
So I got a couple of stories for you. One is one that maybe isn't going to make the big headlines, but I think it's super important. And that's the Washington Supreme Court has ruled that farm workers are to receive overtime pay after 8 hours at work. And that sounds pretty logical, right? The thing is that farm workers and the way that they're treated is actually steeped in a long history of racist government policy. And they actually noted that in the Supreme Court ruling. And it was a way for basically people to continue the legacy of slavery through farm workers. So having them do overtime pay without being paid, and it makes a huge difference because 99% of the farm workers in Washington state are Latinos. And as a Hispanic person, I'm like, yes, let's do this. Let's fix this. So I was really excited to see that this came through for them.
Absolutely.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff. What else you got for us?
Well, some people have already called it that Joe Biden has won.
Look at it. Who's that wishful thinking for you over there? Huh?
That's Fox has called it for Biden, and quite a few other people have. But what I'm getting from the, I guess, official election results isn't that we're not quite there. So they're still saying 264 to 214 when you pull it up, and we're still divided. But one state that came through overnight was Georgia. And we can give all that credit to Stacey Abrams. So it's been insane what she's been working on. So since 2016. Wait, is my sound bad?
No. You're good. I was just gonna bring this up, and I was gonna say, oh, that's an overlay. I was gonna tell you that suppress me once, shame on you. Suppress me twice, shame on me. You know, they took all them votes from Stacey Abrams.
They did.
When she was running for office, and she ain't forget.
Yeah, she said she mourned for 10 days and then said, what do I got to do? What's next? So since 2016, there's been 1 million new voters registered in Georgia, and 2/3 of them are people of color. And she set a goal of getting 800,000 people from her community registered, and she hit it. And we can give this Georgia win for Democrats for the first time since 1992, actually. It's the last time that it went Democrat to Stacey Abrams. So it's that Black girl magic. This election is being carried on the backs of Black women, and we got to give her props, because Brian Kemp, when he was the Georgia Secretary of State, he did everything in his power to remove voters. And they were removing voters because they hadn't voted in the last election, which was a local small time elections. If you didn't vote in every single election, they would remove you from the rolls.
It was a 100% suppression operation down there when when Stacey Abrams was running for the governor's seat. I mean, 100%. You don't really hear me say stuff like that, but 100%. They went out of their way to suppress the vote. Well, you know, as the old saying says, be careful who you anger.
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah,
They
with the
came
wrong
with
woman.
it.
Yeah, and let me just say this, first of all, I've been, perusing through all of these headlines, hearing so much about how Black women, I hear this a lot. And as a Black woman, I just got to say that it really is true. This is why the connection to your community, and I just charge everybody, because all that is essential in terms of what they're talking about with this kind of Black woman nature, this Black girl magic. Really, it's about care. It is about the care for people. It is about the care for equity. It is about looking at the whole picture and seeing that really what we want out here for our people is for them to be cared for. And she knew that it was going to be important for all of those votes to be counted. And that was a part of the process. So I just encourage everybody to take in some of that spirit of Stacey Abrams today, and of all of the amazing Black women and others who have really pushed the democratic process in this particular election, and take a slice of it for yourself, because you have that power too.
Definitely. When Black women organize, it doesn't just uplift the Black community, it uplifts everybody. So it's been amazing to see, and we really owe, if this Biden win comes through, we really owe it to them. So yeah, Stacey Abrams.
Yeah, well, and the thing is as well is that outside of, I mean, in some of these races, and when you talk about Georgia, when you talk about Pennsylvania, when you talk about Michigan, and it's all coming down to them votes and them urban centers.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's like, it's really Biden's election is really coming down to Black people in the urban centers.
Let's not forget
if you
that
got white
after he
people,
wins.
think about that now. The Black people hadn't showed up, and they in large numbers, and they said it'd be a wrap. It would 100%. It would be a wrap. So, what else you got, Kit?
Well, last night we had a lot of fun in our live stream takeover with Big Building. We got to see Goodie Bag and Cool Nuts. And yeah, that's my first time to see both of them. And they were amazing. They brought the house down. We were all in there dancing. And what did you think about the performance?
Nah, I had a great time. But really what made me happy was that the artists were so happy. I mean, it's like, birds were born to fly. And it's like a lot of these artists, when they're not able to practice their art, you know what I'm saying? You can see it, how it impacts them, because when they got out there and were able to perform, oh man, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm still getting texts and everything. So it was an amazing experience. Big shout out to Big Building, and, look forward to developing that partnership and being able to uplift artists from our community on that great platform.
So I had a little bit of a different ending for us today. We'll be standing up because we'll be dancing, but I actually pulled a little clip from Goodie Bag for a Feel Good Friday. So we're going to take the show out with a little Feel Good Friday Goodie Bag. So we're going to say our goodbyes now.
Voila.
Voila.
So here you go. Today at 2 p.m. Chats with Trey. 11 o'clock tonight, Como 4 is the 1 hour special interview that they did. And otherwise, I guess we're back on Monday at 11 a.m.
All right. Oh no, where's my Goodie Bag clip? No, isn't that here? Oh no. Okay, we're gonna get this clip.
To come back to the captain's seat.
I know, I need the big guy in this seat. Apparently, I can't drive this boat. I thought I had this clip up here. I was so excited to dance this morning.
We'll save it for Monday.
All right.
All right. Catch you later. Good job, Nikki. Catch you later, Triana.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise as the
path and the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought. Facing the rising sun.